Hello, everyone. This is Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire Show. And my guest today is Anaiya Sophia. Anaya is a mystic, storyteller, and author of Revelatory wisdom. She teaches workshops throughout the world and is best known for the creation of Sacred Body Awakening, a practice where women and men heal together in grace. She uses her voice as medicine to create an incandescent temple where indescribable beauty and generations of transformation take place. Known for showing up as a trailblazing resource of unapologetic truth and transparent courage, her heart is both fierce and tender. Some of Sophia's books are Womb Wisdom, Sacred Relationships, and her latest, Fierce Feminine Rising, reveals a map, a template that she was given as she wrote the book. It is the map of our absolute awakening, our return to the heart. Anaya has also designed her own clothing range, which she calls Anaya's wardrobe. She also has created her own range of anointing oils called SOPHIA Temple Oils. Anaya lives in the Occitan region of southern France with her beloved husband, Pete Wilson. Their homeland is a place shrouded in the myths and legends of such groundbreaking visionaries such as Mary Magdalene and the mystical legacy of the Cathars. They run a B&B in the beautiful village of Quiver called Occitania Bed and Breakfast, where individuals and small groups can come and stay. Anaya, thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, it's so lovely to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I have to admit, you are an amazing storyteller. I've listened to several interviews you gave on different occasions, and I was enchanted by the tone of your voice, the energy you radiated. I became part of the story, and I'm a writer, and I think that's a compliment. I really enjoy that.
That is indeed a huge compliment, and I must confess that is the intention. I want the people to feel like they're part of something that's alive, because for me it is alive.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And as I mentioned, you live in southern France, close to the Pyrenees mountain, a place, as I said, shrouded in mystery. And Lars Muhl, which is from Denmark and is going to be a guest on my show very soon, trained in that area as a seer with Clark de Montségur, and he mentions that area in his books. So I understand it's a very special place on earth.
Oh, absolutely. I too read the O manuscript, so I'm very aware of Lars being here. And it's very interesting because in the O manuscript, he mentions a certain place where he stayed. And this is the property that I'm in the process of buying.
Wow.
So I cannot wait to extend the invitation to Lars to return and give a gathering. That would be wonderful.
Yes, indeed. And I'd like to start the discussion around the idea of the feminine, being pushed aside for centuries as an afterthought and not being a man's equal. I mean, the women with the psychic or healing capabilities were humiliated and killed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but other than Mary, mother of Yeshua, as you say, and Mary Magdalene, which we'll come back to later, there are no other significant women in Christianity. Why do you think is that?
Well, I feel that, well, the thing is that there are. There's many powerful ladies in that Christian story, but they just haven't been included in the Bible. If we do a little bit of digging, you'll find all sorts of interesting females, and also, people with feminine energy, because feminine is not just of woman. There's prophetesses, there's oracles, there's obvious, very, very gifted hands-on healers. Oh yeah, they're all there. Our attention has been diverted away from them. And truly, I wonder why that is. There's obviously a feeling of they want to make the two leading ladies, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, totally out of reach. One is a immaculate virgin mother who happens to get pregnant and have a child all by herself. And the other one is sometimes known as a, repentant prostitute. But that is really clearly coming into consciousness now as something that is absolutely not true. But more importantly, why was it said about her in the first place? So we can see it's not an error. There's actually an agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, you, Lars, and Tom Kenyon are authors which I know of, mentioning that, in fact, Mary Magdalene was a priestess of Isis trained in Egypt, and her relationship with Yeshua was much more profound than is described in the Bible. So again, when do you think that this concept will be largely accepted by Christianity, if ever?
Well, it's slowly starting to happen. She is now known as the Apostle of the Apostles. Little bit of original papyri got found. I think it was 2016 that really seemed to indicate that Mary Magdalene was in fact Yeshua's wife. Also, if you do a little bit of extra deep research on the family tree, it is very common to come across the idea that the Queen of Sheba is also known as the female pharaoh Hatshepsut. There were a few female pharaohs, and of course, queen and pharaoh mean exactly the same thing in the Egyptian language. Now, this Queen of Sheba, or the pharaoh Hatshepsut, could in fact be very, very likely to be Mary Magdalene's great grandmother.
Wow.
Now, if you think about that takes a while to digest. Not only do we have the Queen of Sheba and all of her wonderful stories of going to King Solomon's temple and spending some time with him and coming away with a child, which could have been Moses. So that story all by itself is massive. But then if we realize, hang on a minute, she also has another name, which is Hatshepsut, a female pharaoh. Now we're getting to see the real Mary Magdalene and the quality of family she is part of.
And also the history tells us that the priestesses of Egypt were quite powerful and knowledgeable in ancient mysteries, and that lineage somehow diminished and was lost. Do you think that that knowledge was kept only in Mary Magdalene lineage, or potentially has spread somewhere else?
I feel it could have been spread elsewhere as well. You know, that little original bunch of Christians, not that they called themselves Christians, but that first little bunch of friends that actually hung out with Yeshua, saw, felt, tasted, touched. Those people, and even including the Roman centurions, those people were forever touched at the deepest possible level. And of course, everyone just went off in all of these different directions. You know, you could say, for instance, Mary Magdalene came here, and that is why she gave rise to the Cathars. You know, centuries later, that same quality of teaching and transmission shows up again in medieval France. Well, what about John and Mother Mary over in Ephesus in Turkey? What about all the other places that the other deeply touched people went? Oh yes, I believe it's very widespread, but it has been kept hidden and quiet, and rightfully so, for now.
Yes. And have you had the chance to do any personal investigation in the southern France regarding Mary Magdalene and her lineage?
Oh my gosh, I am endlessly investigating. This is why I chose to live here. Oh my goodness, my deepest interest is the Cathars, is their rituals, is their prayers, and to locate where they would have gathered. They never gathered in churches. They gathered mostly on cross paths. The Cathars actually had their own sort of hiking network called the Cathar Paths, linking one village and town to another. And they would have a mass at a cross path. And usually that would include a spring or some sort of grandfather and grandmother oak trees. So that's what I spend my days doing when I can, walking those paths and just feeling where that really clear energy is, where that spirit of peace and celebration would have happened. All their gatherings was in the church, was in the forests and natural places.
Yes, the forest was their cathedral, I like to say. So
Yes.
it was much, much more beautiful. It was made by God, by the Creator, not artificially by man. Even
That's
if,
right.
the church was nicely decorated, I don't think in their mind it had the same meaning as compared to nature.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the mother concept is much more revered elsewhere, but in the West, compared to the traditions which are based in Africa and Asia and South America?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do. I feel us Westerners are sort of playing catch up, not only with the knowledge of the mother, but also the wisdom and also the quality of prayer. To be honest, I love praying and I love seeing how others pray. Now, I am being general here, but it seems as if our prayers in the West are a little bit flat. We are yet to really put our heart and soul into it. And when that happens, and I do believe that is coming for us Western folk, because we are being backed into a corner, we are having to dig really, really deep, especially now, for the hidden parts of us, the parts that have been sealed off. And, like we started this conversation, the parts that aren't included in our day-to-day beingness. We have to go in search of those. And I believe when it gets really uncomfortable, that's when that saved for now part of us that can pray with the whole of our being will come to life and suddenly burst forth. And now we're finally in it. We're in the holy current and things are happening and changing.
And do you think that that has to do with faith and how deep we want to go inside, or?
I feel perhaps that a certain humility has to be reached in the West. We've really had everything at the the flick of a fingers or the press of a button. We've become little gods and goddesses, really important, really established, and that has masked our true ability to commune with humility and a sense of peace and a sense of innocence. So there's been a bit of a price to pay by having all of this wonderful privilege. We've lost something, and that something must be found, and it will be found.
Yes, it will be, let's say, force on us, even if we
Yes.
don't want to do it or not, because this is in my opinion, at least, this is the path we have to walk.
Yeah.
Returning to your books, how do you think a woman can take back her womb power or regain her womb power and beauty?
Well, first of all, she's going to have to want to, because in the womb there are so many typical aspects of woman, including either her abundance of sexual partners or her lack of. She will also find her true sexual beingness and expression. She will also have to do some kind of retrieval and forgiveness of her Eve and her Lilith aspects. The Lilith part of us is fire and spontaneity and the catalyst and tremendous power. And the Eve part of us is the beautiful mother, the beautiful wife, the forgiveness, the tender, the comfort, the nurturing. We will also have to look at other issues like babies, pregnancy, miscarriages, children, our ancestors and the generations to come. When that's done, then we will start feeling into the rest of all the beings that live here, because the womb is connected to all wombs, and I don't mean just human ones. Anybody that has a womb will have some kind of resonance with one another. So this is going to go far out into the world, and that's why I'm very hopeful for that humility I was speaking about earlier. Because when we can really feel the plight of the animals and one another as brothers and sisters and tribes and natures and cultures, then again there'll be more awakening, more of us coming to life and actually starting to be real again. So there's like many reasons why not to, because it will be scary, it will be messy, and there will be grief. But there's only one way to go. There's only one direction left, and that is wholeness, authenticity, and returning to what God, the source, had originally intended for us. We can't be half women anymore, or half men. We gotta go. We gotta go. Now is that time.
So in other words, the oppression of being a woman and showing up in its full beauty, it takes, it also is attached to maybe social marginalization, do you think?
Yes. It's like you could say woman's work. Instead of woman's work, woman's work. It's all in this pocket. I often think of the womb as the kangaroo pouch. It's all in that lower pocket. And we got to put our hand in and dig deep and empty that pocket and see what we put in there.
Yes, unfortunately, we are carrying a lot of skeletons and trauma as a society, not only as individuals. And when we look at individual, that becomes even more enhanced, by family or from previous lives, for those who believe in that, of course, and affects everyone around us. And we really have to purge this trauma somehow in order to move forward. And what would you suggest for this type of purging to happen?
There's so many ways that you can come to this. You could come to womb man work via, like an emotional purging. Just, using your emotions to be the compass and the navigation through. You could also take maybe more of an Indonesian approach, which is to actually build a womb altar in your home, in your garden, and call upon the spirits that could help with this journey. Call upon your ancestors, call upon the spirits of the generations to come. Make it very, very clear. You want healing, you want clearing, you want cleaning. You're ready to begin this journey. So there's so many ways where you could even approach it nutritionally and start eating and taking supplements for the wellness of the womb. You could approach it yogically. Focus all of your bodily movement around the sort of waist and belt area, from sacrum to kidneys, to womb, to ovaries, to the whole reproductive system. You could do all of the mentioned, and then you'd have a very rapid and authentic journey.
And we have to go beyond our egos, I think, because that's the the threshold which sometimes holds us back.
Yes. Yeah.
I write about water and environment, and in my opinion, water holds memory and the memory of humanity over the millennia. How do you involve water in what you are doing with your clients and your um, um, workshops?
Did you say water, the element of water?
Yes.
Oh, right. Well, luckily for us where we live, we have hot and cold springs. So I take full advantage of that beautiful fluid medicine that is everywhere around here. If you don't have access to that, you can do some incredible things with a bath. I often say to the ladies that come here to have a black bath. And that means that the bathroom is in complete darkness. No electric lights and no light peeking in from anywhere. So if you have a door crack at the bottom or you have windows, just blacken them out with towels or with fabric. And you just agree before stepping into the bathroom that you're going to do this silently. You're going to also go from the black bath to your black bed, which means there's no lights on. You're going to just creep through the house step by step to your bedroom. No checking emails, no talking, no even fixing a cup of tea. So you're going into the zone the moment you open that bathroom door, and then you shall come out of the zone tomorrow morning. With herbs, with salt, with oils, your body will recognize, oh, I'm in the womb again, because it's watery, it's warm, and you're in the darkness. And if it's a hot-ish bath, you will start to hear your own heartbeat in your chest and also in your jugular. And all of this will trigger very sort of primordial memories of being that little fetus, that little tiny infant in the womb. And by going to bed in that energy, there will be some beautiful healing, as well as most likely some encounters, perhaps with Grace, the Divine Mother, as well.
Will that work for men as well?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. My husband, he loves this. This was most probably the most amazing thing that was shared. So simple, didn't realize it was forever possible in our homes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
along the same line, we both have feminine and masculine inside us. One
Yes.
is more predominant than the other. So are you saying that also men can access their fierce feminine aspect of themselves?
Yes, 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 yes. The men can access this. The men can also access womb memory. And the black bath and the black bed is all part of this. So this fierceness that's rising in women. See, again, I'm only sharing my own understanding, and it's limited, and I'm seeing just a small little vantage point. What I'm noticing is when men in general can be faced by the kinds of things that we're facing in protesting situations, their instinct is to fight. Their instinct is to make a fist and just start fighting. And that's the masculine expression. What I'm interested in seeing is, can they reach for the feminine expression that is equally as fierce and equally as disengaging of the other? It's not about violence. It's not about aggression. It's not about fists. And it's not about fighting. It's something else. It involves voice. It probably involves gesture on the face. And by golly, it involves energy. But it's about asking that man, are you willing to surrender what you know really well, the violence and the aggression, step into the unknown, embody something you probably haven't seen before in your life, and bring it to the world. Because if we can do that as brother and sister, hand in hand, in those frontline situations, then we are going to see some very exciting change.
Do you think that Gandhi is the one who used this concept fully? Because he didn't incite violence. He just
No,
said,
that's right.
let's throw these guys out peacefully. And even when the British killed the Sikhs and the Indian population, they still didn't retaliate at the level someone else would have done. So they kind of hold back, and they portray that peaceful mind and attitude.
I admire humongously everything you've just mentioned, but I don't feel that is it for this moment, this 2020 moment. Whether Gandhi was accessing his fierce feminine, I don't know. Doesn't really sound like it. It sounds like he was accessing his sacred feminine, which is the pacifist, which is the peacemaker. But this fierce feminine is something in between peace and violence. It's new, brand new, I suspect. So we can't even predict or show an example. Well, it's this. I'm not really sure it's been here yet.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah, let's see. Hey, I hope we're around to see.
In the beginning of Fierce Feminine Rising, your latest book, you describe how you wrote the book, how you use your primordial wisdom. Can you please explain us the concept?
Yeah, well, it was very difficult. I am a Capricorn, and I like to do things a certain way. I've written books in the past, so I was very keen to apply that same process of planning, scheduling, and doing things in a designated time. This was not going to happen with this book. I get a sense of the book. I get a sense of the voice and the direction the book wants to go. And that was one of the very first things that became clear. There is no plan. There is no chapter by chapter process. There's no numbering of the chapters. I have to get comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen next. And another part that was very, very clear, you don't write this. I'm like, what? Excuse me, what are you saying? You don't write this book, you speak this book. And I didn't know anything about speech recognition software. So I did a little Google search. And of course, I came across Dragon software. I liked that name very much, Dragon. So I ordered it. And then I realized, oh my God, this is possible. I can speak into anything, replay it back to the Dragon software, and it will type up everything I said. Which means I can go out walking whilst recording, because that's very much how I get a sense of the voice. So from start to finish, the whole thing was unpredictable, spontaneous, no sense of knowing where I'm going next. And you know what? You're going to love this piece. I finished 1 month earlier than the deadline the publisher gave me. I thought I was going to have to ask for extra time. I thought I need to ask for another 3 months. I'm never going to get it done in this time frame. I was 1 month early.
You had a divine along with you, yeah?
I now can say something like, I trust the unknown. And that experience of writing the book in that totally uncharted way has let that trust become very, very widespread. So it's not, I trust the unknown way of writing. No, I just simply trust the unknown everything.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. And indeed, even when we write, in my case, when I look back, I really sometimes don't remember when I wrote the book. It was fast, or I wrote in very condensed time frames, and I just can't remember. It was there, it's done. What's next? So I think any type of writing has to do with the divine, with a download in any shape or format.
Yes.
Yes. I heard you talk about succession of civilizations on Earth, like Lemuria, Atlantis, and their disappearance caused by natural events. Do you think that the next phase of humanity will be caused by a natural event as well?
I actually believe we're in that event right now. What I understand, and of course there is no evidence to any of this, but there are many strong theories, and I'm going along with one of them, is that these civilizations that fell or turned into extinction, not all of the people went down with the civilization. There was a huge proportion that just simply migrated into another area. And then those people brought with them the technology, the arts, the sciences, the healing modalities, and then another civilization gets made. For instance, you could easily say that Mu became Lemuria, Lemuria became Atlantis, Atlantis became Egypt, Egypt then went into the Holy Land. So there's a migration of the most beautiful aspects of these times. I feel we're in a similar time now. I mean, if you just look at the west coast of America right now, there has to be a migration. There has to be, because the land is on fire. Same with those times in Australia. Movement is here. It's already happening. I can't really say any more than that because I'm just so not clear.
And sometimes they seem like forced migrations, because not always these fires were so forceful and so dense and happened so fast. So one might wonder if there are other, I mean, not touching the conspiracy theories, but when you see so much damage so fast, you wonder if this is a control migration type of approach.
Yes, you're quite right. That could be at play as well, for sure. Yeah, but for no doubt we're in a historical time that will probably be looked back and seen at that same level of the fall of Rome, the fall of Athens.
Yes,
I think this time will be noted as the same kind of event.
What can you share with us about the programs you are going to run on the new property?
Oh, well, next year, 2021, is very important to me and many like me, because in 1321, as the last Cathar parfait, which means holy man, was being burnt at the stake, he prophesied that in 700 years we will return again. And that 700 years is obviously next year, 2021. And this property is at the base of Montségur, one of the last Cathar strongholds. So we really are in the right position. What I want to do next year, for the whole of next year, is to actually invite people to come who feel connected to this prophecy, and to spend, a few days in the house, praying, eating, being together, but then actually put on our rucksacks and start to walk those paths, literally go up and over from one of the high peaks down into the other valley, and live the Cathar life as much as we can remember it. Wear a little cloak, take only what's necessary, have the Mass on the cross path, wish each other the sign of peace, call one another brother and sister, make a little fire at night, throw away every single gadget and device, and just have that time again.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. And I know you mentioned you read the O manuscript. Lars mentions that there are pathways which are protected by certain spirits. So that would be interesting to see if you're going to be allowed to pass through.
Absolutely. I feel I have my work cut out for me at this new house. It's a very magical house. There are many energies dwelling there. There's a spring, there's a forest, there's a mountain, there's a cave. So there's so much living in those grounds. Yeah.
Nice.
Can't help feeling a new chapter of life is on the horizon.
Do you have any other books on the works now?
Yes. I'm partway through and paused one called The Grail King, which is the return of the sacred masculine in men. And I was writing away, really picking up some good ground. And then in March, obviously for us here in France, coronavirus came. And I remember thinking, pause on your writing, because this, what you're about to live through now, is part of the book. So pay attention to everything that happens, everything you feel, the kind of obstacles and the challenges that you come up against, because this is a really important chapter. So I'm hoping this autumn, winter, I'll be able to finish it off, because it's really important for me. It might not be important for, thyself, but for me, I'd love to get it out for 2021 in alignment with the prophecy. And also because, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's the right time.
And you also have to balance the feminine from the feminine fierce rising. So you have to give us something to the man. So.
Yes, and I've always been extremely clear about that. This is not about the feminine. It seems we went first. The feminine went first. It must be matched by the masculine. That's what I hold dear in my heart. This is about union. This is about the highest matrimony. This is about us doing it together, brother and sister, hand in hand, just like the Cathars. Just like any very powerful tradition, actually. If you look at ancient Egypt, there was never a male all by himself or a female all by herself. They always worked in consorts. Every god and goddess, every netta, every magical being in ancient Egypt had his or her consort.
Yes, and it is my hope that if this concept which we start this discussion with, the communion between Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, is understood by the masses and how they work together with their energies, and they complemented each other, I think that will bring some peace in our souls and much more understanding of who we are and where we are going. And it's also our connection with the divinity. But again, as you said, it's slowly coming in, might take a little bit of time.
Yes. I mean, one of the church's greatest arguments is that if we, really let the cat out the bag and say that we missed out certain gospels because, it's going to be too shocking for the public to see that Yeshua was human. I'm thinking, what? It's actually very comforting that he was a man, a husband, and a father. How wonderful that the divine family that seems so far out there in the heavenly realm is actually right here on earth, very approachable, very real, very authentic and humble. And this little human family that was once human is also an energy very, very alive and comes upon prayer. Isn't that the most wildest revelation?
Yes, it's
That they
tangible.
were
Yes.
fully human and they are fully divine.
And there is a similar example in the Hindu tradition, the lineage of Babaji, who also gave enlightenment to Lahiri Mahashaya, who was a husband, father, a normal person. And he said, I give you this, the God, the divinity is giving you this gift through me because I want to prove to the simple man that they can attain this type of enlightenment if they follow special process or certain meditation and praying. But I want them to prove that it's a tangible reach during one's lifetime. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
so during these trying times, what workshops can you still offer online or in a limited access to your property?
Well, at this moment, it might sound a little bit strange, but I love doing it. I'm doing storytelling at night because if anyone feels like me, I just cannot stand any more data or details. I don't want that part of my brain to work anymore. I'm busy on the inside, opening, expanding, praying, and reaching for. So I do a lot of these little they're called nighttime tales, but specific. I'm doing another series coming up of prophetic women, oracles, and sibyls, because when I tell the story, as you said at the beginning, I want that listener to be part of the story. I want that listener to feel what it's like for that young woman or older woman or young man to actually step into that prophetic voice, or to step into that martyr or wise woman. And then hopefully that internal side of the listener will also shift and open. And now they've got real access to their own part that can rise and challenge and speak truth to power and all of that stuff. And because it's coming out via the storytelling means, you're actually stimulating the other side of the brain, the imagination, the feeling, the visionary, and the swelling of emotional charge that says, yeah, I can do this too. So that's the kind of things that I feel bring good medicine at this moment.
So it's like listening to a piece of like a the theater
Yeah.
on radio, pretty much. You are
Yes.
there with the
Yes.
characters.
Yes. And listen, just last thing at night, just before bed. And of course, hopefully you just go into the dream world with the same kind of essence.
I want to ask you, because you use the term Yeshua instead of Jesus, and the common um, name is Jesus Christ. When you use Yeshua, do you still use Christ as a concept, or you just, in your opinion, Yeshua will encompass the Christ consciousness concept as well?
No, there is a difference. When I say Yeshua, I'm saying it in that way because I feel that's the Aramaic sound. Huh? It's definitely the Aramaic word. Whether I'm saying it accurately enough is a different matter. But I feel so. I've heard a lot of people say it in that way, Yeshua. So Aramaic is a language based on sound. And so by saying the name as he would have called himself, as his friends would have called him, to me brings to life the person. Yeshua the person, Yeshua the young man, Yeshua the prophet, Yeshua the transmission. Whereas Christ, that's something else. That's kind of like the full epiphany of that great journey and the depth of that Sacred Heart. So Christ includes Yeshua, but it's the everything. It's the crucifixion, it's the passion, it's the resurrection, it's the teachings that have continued to come through us, even though his body is passed over.
Correct. And again, I have to ask you, I think it transpired from our discussion, but in your opinion, this Christ consciousness concept or state of being can be achieved by anyone in one's lifetime?
Yes, I do believe that. I do, yeah. Yeah.
Indeed. And I thank you very much for your time. It's been great. I don't know if you have any last thoughts about what you are doing or anything else you want my viewers to know about.
I don't think so. I think you covered everything, but I would like to use this last little moment to say thank you so much for addressing these incredible subjects with clarity, and you're really being that sacred masculine, that still, cool, glorious presence. You know where you're going, you're guiding the conversation. Thank you for being such a good guide.
Thank you very much. I'll post in the description of this video your links to your books, so anyone can order them. And for my subscribers, thank you for watching. Share, subscribe to my YouTube channel in case you haven't done it. Go to my Patreon account, become a member. I provide exclusive content. And until next time, love and gratitude.